Good time of the day, ladies and gents. We're gonna do another 1 versus 1 cast, and but this is a special one, and its specialness is in the fact that it's on Forza Horizon Unlaying, which is an updated version of the famous, or rather at this point already infamous map Forza Horizon, and I'm reasonably sure it's edited by Solas. And the main difference is that you can traverse the river, you can walk on the river, and a few changes, a few like hills added, or rather redesigned over this part of the map, but overall it's basically the same map. The main change being that you can traverse the map, which helps with making it less campy. So you don't have these 3 choke points on the map anymore, on the fords essentially. Righty, so on the top side, or the left-hand side, we've got Excelsior, who's playing for Mordor, and he's gone for, how is this thing called? Gorgoroth Armory. Gorgoroth Armory, 2 slaughterhouses, and orc barracks. Very economical beginning, I would say. And also, like, this slaughterhouse is very far from the fortress, so it's definitely not protected by fortress arrows. So that's an interesting decision by Excelsior. And he queued up his units over here, so I'm assuming he knows what he's doing in terms of his build order. And he's going for the creep, and also going for an orc warrior battalion afterwards. And the Misty Mountains player has a very interesting strategy as well. So first of all, on the bottom side, or the right hand side, we've got the player Proroc, and he's playing for obviously Misty Mountains, and this is kind of like a scouting battalion. I'm not sure it was meant to kill a building, or rather destroy a building, but the fact that Excelsior built this slaughterhouse away from his fortress was about to bite him in the butt, but since he went for the shade thingy, Wraiths of Mordor ability, he was successful in saving this, because obviously these guys will kill the gobos, no problem. Anyway, so Proroc has gone for a very aggressive opener, actually. So I'm assuming he went for 1 tunnel, then barracks, and then he put down the second one, and then the second barracks, something like that. So he scouted the base. He know that Excelsior hasn't gone for the troll cage, and so the rush begins, so to speak. This slaughterhouse over here is definitely going to go down, and Proroc is trying to approach Excelsior's base from 2 sides, from the bottom lane or ford, whatever you might want to call it, and also from, we could say, the central part. So takes down the first slaughterhouse, and almost takes down the builder, but Excelsior manages to save him by putting down a wall hub, or rather a battle tower. Does Mordor even have wall hubs here? I'm not even sure. Anyway, so Excelsior managed to take the money from this troll creep, and Proroc is continuing with the harassment. I would say quite successful so far. And Excelsior is looking for farms, trying to take the second work creep over here. Meanwhile, Proroc is trying to take down his second, I believe, slaughterhouse. And this builder is just continuously being chased by gobos. To be more, precise, Moria orc screechers. Righty, so Excelsior discovers, or doesn't really discover this tunnel over here, as it's not in the vision range, but does he will rather pretty soon take the creep money over here, and also the creep money over here. And at this point, he does discover the tunnel over here. On the other hand, Proroc basically cleaned up Excelsior's entire base, so he's down to 375 command points, but does have units on the field, so it's just not as bad as it might have been, might have seemed rather. Okay, so on the other hand, we've got Proroc with 575, but not nearly as many troops on the map. And Excelsior is gonna try to fight back at this point. He needs to get out of his base, which is what he's doing. If you play from defense, if you play this matchup only from defense, it's gonna end up really, really badly for you. Overall, this matchup is a complete pain for Mordor. Like, Misty Mountains has before I continue my thought there, let me check if I'm recording. It seems that I am indeed. So what I wanted to say is that Misty Mountains has just so many things that it can throw at the Mordor player in terms of in terms of units, in terms of strategies, and Mordor really doesn't have good counters to a lot of that stuff. So we'll see what Proroc will go with. He has chosen to go with the Mountain Orc Lodge and two, Moria Orc Caves so far. I'm assuming he's expecting a Nazgul, which is a good prediction, because obviously Mordor will eventually get his first Nazgul to counter the Moria Orcs creatures and not let the opponent just spam them all over the map. Yeah, so the Nazgul is already on the map and is gonna level up fairly quickly, I would assume. And these Mountain Orc Brutes, since they're pikeman units, they take additional damage from archers, or rather, I should say that their armor from pierce damage tends. All pikeman units, or most pikeman units, I should say, have lower armor from pierce damage. So. Excelsior's situation is gonna stabilize right now since he has the Nazgul, and Proroc's rush, or rather harassment isn't gonna be nearly as effective anymore. Okay, so in terms of command points, 475 with 320 active army and 7 power points, and on the other hand, Proroc has 625 with almost 200 active army and 5 power points. So a bit behind in terms of power points, ahead in terms of economy, but behind in terms of units on the field. So I would say that we're in for a good match. The initial rush, I would say Proroc did the best that he could given the situation. But after which Excelsior managed to stabilize. And I would say that one of the main reasons that he did manage to stabilize the situation was the creep money. He crept over here and also crept over here. And that's, if I'm not mistaken, 600 resources. I'm just not sure how much money the creep, the ward creep gives you in Age of the Ring. Alright, so... yeah, so Proroc needs more pikes. Doesn't have any on the field right now, it seems. And Excelsior is just methodically taking down his tunnels all over the map right now. Or not really all over the map, but is trying to go one by one, which I would say is a bit less effective. He could have split this army, because as you can see, these guys, like these 3 battalions, really aren't doing much right now. The rest of the battalions could have taken down the tunnel and just moved on to the next one, instead of engaging with Misty Mountains units. Righty, so on the other hand, Proroc manages to defend his tunnel on the top side of the map, and we've got we had a troll creep that was about to get involved in this situation over here, but he changed his mind in the last moment. And yeah, this Mordor's army seems a bit better over here, especially with the Nazgul arriving. Is this the second Nazgul, or is this still the first one? Seems the first one, but hasn't managed to get too many levels. I guess that's because these Moria Orcs creatures don't really feed him too many power points. Oof! XD. Or rather, not XD, but yeah, that was... yeah. That's gonna hurt a lot. Like, in this matchup, Mordor doesn't have the opportunity to make too many mistakes. Mordor, like, to win this as Mordor, you need to play basically perfectly, like with very few mistakes. Of course, you can't play entirely perfectly, but preferably you'd have very, very few mistakes to give yourself the best chance, to win this matchup. Sounded like tautology, perhaps. Sounded like, you could say, like, you can't say that the same could be said about literally any matchup in every faction. Like, the fewer mistakes you make, the better your chances. But especially here, where Misty Mountains units counter most of the Mordor units so freaking effectively, I feel like that holds especially true. So Proroc has gone for Urshak as his first hero, which is an interesting choice. I would say a good choice as well. Getting Urshak leveled up early can play huge dividends, later down the line. And he's already level 3, which means he has access to his cave-in ability, which means that he can take down basically one-shots level 1 slaughterhouses. I'm not sure about level 2s, but it has very, very big damage against buildings. So even if it doesn't one-shot level 2s, your Urshak himself or some units can eventually take it down. So Excelsior is trying to not sit in his base, at least with like 1 battalion of orcs over this side. He's also trying to defend over here. And he's also gone for Mouth of Sauron, obviously, which has been on the map for about 2 minutes, but this is the first time I'm mentioning him. Level 1 still, hasn't managed to get too many kills. It's also interesting that Proroc hasn't gone for the first upgrade, or it seems that he hasn't. Yeah, I'm assuming he hasn't, because he hasn't, used Untamed Allegiance or whatever it's called on the troll layers. Underrated ability, I would say. It gives you resources. I think it's 10 or 50, something like that, which is not a whole lot, but still, having that additional income definitely does not hurt. I would say Proroc's army is caught a bit off guard over here, especially with the Shade, Wraiths of Mordor, first tier 1 ability. Yeah, so Urshak cannot 1v1 Mouth of Sauron. Mouth of Sauron is actually like quite tanky, and has decent damage, and he would be better off just getting into the cave. But I'm assuming Proroc is trying to control his army over this side of the map, and that's why he's not paying attention. But eventually he does manage to get Urshak in the cave. And also, importantly, very importantly, I would say, he's got Lug on the field, and Lug is obviously one of the most effective, if not the most effective hero killer in the game, and we see just that, we see exactly that in action over here. I'm pretty sure Mouth of Sauron isn't gonna be able to get out of this fight, and that's exactly correct, because Lug, besides fighting in melee mode, he can also throw knives from a ranged distance. A bit of miscontrol over here by Excelsior. These archers were standing here, not really doing anything, but he's gone for the Morgul upgrade. I'm not exactly sure how it's called, pardon me for that, but he's also, which gives access to Gothmog, to Legions of Morgul, Olokai Trolls, and I think that's it, though I'm not exactly sure. And also obviously unlocks the last upgrade on the fortress, which in turn unlocks the Morgul Vanguard, which is, I would say, a key unit in Mordor gameplay, at least for me. Anyway, so in terms of an army, the Mordor army is definitely bigger over here. He's got 600 command points on the map. Max CP is basically the same, but in terms of like actual units on the map, Mordor is definitely ahead. He's also got Gothmog, which gives all these orcs leadership, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, orcs near Gothmog gain the standard leadership. 33, and also 52 experience boost. Righty, so Mordor is playing with the right-hand side, right-hand side branch of the PowerPoint tree, which means that he will get access to the Fell Beast, essentially, the Fell Beast summon, in about half a point. And he can use the Fell Beast summon on Proroc's key buildings, which would be this level 3 Mountain Orc Lodge, although I'm not sure how quickly they would take it down. But he can definitely use it on this level, or almost level 3 tunnel, which is like the key tunnel that Proroc built literally in the beginning of the game, like in the very beginning of the game. And once it reaches level 3, I think it's going to give 100, CP. So yeah, definitely a big kill. Would be a big kill. And also, of course, as it levels up, it generates more resources. At level 3, it generates 31, it seems. Via Proroc doesn't really have much on his base to defend, but on the other hand, his attacking Excelsior from 3 sides Excelsior goes for Mouth of Sauron once again, and he's got his first battalion of Legions of Morgul, first 2 battalions actually of Legions of Morgul on the field. And he's got enough money to go for the Witch King, and I'm pretty sure that's what he's gonna do. Although I would say that a mistake that Excelsior has made so far is not going for the first upgrade on the fortress, which gives you a 10% discount on the cost of heroes. And obviously for Mordor, heroes are a central unit to its gameplay, so you definitely want to grade that to use to spam your heroes at a cheaper price. Oh wow, I was not expecting to see Grey Goblin on the map. That's a very interesting choice, actually. I think this is one of my least. This is one of the heroes that I know the least in the mod. Righty, but we'll talk about that in a bit because Excelsior has summoned the Wraiths on Wings. So Wraiths of Mordor, Wraiths of Wings. Righty. He does take down the level 3 Mountain Orc Lodge, which is a huge loss for Proroc. And over here, the Great Goblin uses his first ability, which summons Goblin Town Warriors on the field. It's these guys, and I'm pretty sure that they... Right, so and it has 2 effects basically. It's a summon and also a buff. I'm pretty sure these guys have pillage or something to that effect, but we'll see. We'll see as the game progresses. Mouth of Sauron is level 4, which unlocks his debuff. Nullifier and 2020 debuff, which is very very effective, generally speaking, against really any faction. So probably also must-have unit. Probably not must-have in all matchups, in every single matchup, but still a very very good and effective hero in most cases. And Excelsior is doing what I mentioned. Is doing exactly what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Is that trying to take down this level 3 tunnel, and he does manage to take it down. That is a huge loss for Proroc. But on the other hand, Proroc was very very successful in harassing Excelsior's base as well. So I feel like they've gone for a bit of a base trade. Excelsior led his entire army over here, took down all of Proroc's tunnels over this side of the map, and basically ignored his own economy. And Proroc did the same. Instead of defending his level 3 Mountain Orc Lodge and level 3 tunnel over here, he just sent his gobos, his Moria Orc Screechers rather, and his heroes to harassment. And Witch King is trying to take down tunnel over here, and we can see that first of all, we can see that Proroc has graded a tunnel expansion of the forces, but also Excelsior has gone for fire arrows on Orc Archers, which is a very interesting choice. You don't really see this very often, especially in 1v1 on Orc Archers. That's very interesting. And he's shooting on the fortress, but I mean, it's fairly obvious that he's not going to be able to take down this fortress with this many archers. But anyway, so Witch King on the hand is gaining levels on the side of the map, and Lug is trying to counter him, and I'm not exactly sure how effective that's going to be. But we can see that Proroc has kind of migrated to the northern, top side of the map. He's grading his Mountain Orc Lodge. Once again, it's level 2 now. In terms of economy, Mordor has 600. Well, not economy, but CP, because I think the production buildings in this patch give you CP as well. So CP is probably not the best indicator of just how well your economy is functioning at the moment. I'm pretty sure in the next version, 8.0, that's not going to be the case. Yeah, so what I wanted to say is that it's not going to be the case in terms of the fact that production buildings are no longer going to grant you CP, which is a very welcome change, because when PBs grant you command points, that kind of inspires turtly gameplay, is what I wanted to say. Okay, so we see that Mordor is down to quite literally 0 command points. And on the other hand, I'm pretty sure that the Misty Mountains player also doesn't really have that many units on the field. So it's not literally 0, but it's pretty close to 0. Like it's 60 plus 3 heroes. Very interesting gameplay, I would say. Take of that what you will. So Witch King is level 4, and yeah. So I'm not sure what Excelsior's plan is over here, because I think Lug can take down Witch King if he's so low on his health, but also Misty Mountains has the direct counter unit to Flying Witch King, which is the giant bats, and I mentioned in the beginning of the game that Misty Mountains has so many different options to do very dirty things to Mordor, but props to Proroc for not using any of the kind of sort of disbalanced features of Misty Mountains against Mordor. I'm talking about basically all the units that you get from the troll lair or whatever that building's called. The Gundabad orcs, the giant bats, and also the worm, the fireworm, and also the cold drake. All of those units are just a pain to deal with for Mordor. So yeah, I think. So Misty Mountains is down to like, yeah, he literally has like this battalion over here and heroes, and that's it. Anyhow, so he's gone for 2 tier 1s, 1 tier 2, and also 1 tier 3, but hasn't summoned the worm just yet. On the other hand, Mordor definitely has more units on the map. But in terms of economy, Misty Mountains has control over the entire map. Like he's spammed orc, tunnels, or rather, what is this called? Orc tunnels over the entire map, while Excelsior was very, slow in recovering his economy. I feel like what's making the difference at this point of the game. After they went for a base trade, Proroc started to absolutely spam his orc tunnels once again, while Excelsior didn't do the same, and that's kind of paying off for Proroc right now, in the sense that even though he doesn't really have any units on the field, he's not losing the game, I would say. Yeah, and besides that, Mordor is very close to his tier 4 ability, which is the Fires of Orodruin, I think it's called, I'm not sure. And if he combines it with the Wraiths of Wings, he might be able to take down the Misty Mountains fortress. Although I'm not sure about that. Like the Fires of Orodruin will probably most likely take down the fortress attachment, and in combination, and also damage the fortress somewhat. And in combination with the Wraiths of Wings, I think they should be able to take it down. So Witch King got dismounted because it was low health, and Lug has access to all of his abilities and his ultimate as well, Scorched Earth. So Lug is obviously one of the best hero killers in the entire mod. And Proroc has also gone for Bolg of the North, and upgraded Mountain Orc Lodge to level 2. So he didn't upgrade to level 3 after grading it to level 2. Ready, so I'm not sure what Excelsior's plan is at this moment. I feel like he's a bit lost as to what exactly he needs to do moving forward. Doesn't really have much of an economy. In fact, he has he has 2 slaughterhouses and also the armory, which he lost, by the way, and he just rebuilt, and it's level 1. And he's losing the barracks as well, and Bolg together with Urshak is gonna take down this level 3 as well, after which Mordor is gonna be down to literally 1 slaughterhouse. So I feel like the writing's on the wall in this one in terms of who's gonna end up winning, but that was nice. So he used Fellwind essentially. Fellwind, and also Urshak's ability, which is called Fellwinter. Righty, so On the other hand, you know, Excelsior still has Witch King, who has managed to recover some of its HP, and also he's got, you know, he's got Gothmog level 7, not bad at all, and Mouth of Sauron is on the field as well. I'm pretty sure, although can't really see him anywhere at the moment. So I feel like Excelsior's only hope at this point is combining his tier 4 with a ring of Wraiths on Wings. God damn it. Yeah, so that summon, and Gothmog needs to be careful. He's under Luke's debuff. Needs to run away. Bolg is hitting him too. Definitely needs to run away. So Gothmog does manage to get away, but Witch King is in the middle of the pack over here. So Misty Mountain's heroes get back to the tunnel. So not really that much happening on the map. I feel like this is more of a tactical game rather than a macro game. You know, Mordor is relying solely on its heroes to survive in the match. Doesn't really have much of an economy. Excuse me. Yeah, so most of the barracks are taken down as well. Does manage to clean up, you know, Proroc's economy over this side of the map somewhat, but is that going to be enough? I'm not so sure. Can use Slaves of Nirn on this thing to at least have some kind of resource income. But I'm not sure what Proroc is waiting for, to be quite honest with you. Like, Proroc has... Yeah, so... Okay, so... waits for a few seconds, you know, I'll finish my thought in a few seconds, because Excelsior does what I was talking about a few minutes ago, and adds Witch King to Wraiths on Rings as well, and Fires of Orodruin actually does quite decent damage on the fortress. I did not know that. So, right, so Proroc, like literally a few moments before that, I was saying I'm not sure what Proroc's plan is, because he definitely has the map control and the resource advantage, but doesn't really have that many teched up units. Well, he does have Gundabad Berserkers over this, you know, at this point already, but before that he was just, you know, he could have gone for so many different things, you know, bats, Gundabad trolls, you know, also known as stone trolls, or he could have gone with cavalry, with Golfimbo, like lots of options against Mordor. But he was just using a standard strategy with just hero spam, essentially. At this point, he already also does have Bolg's bodyguard, and Urshak uses his ultimate ability, which heals units and deals medium damage. And also Urshak is level 8, which means he has access to his intimidation thingy, which basically makes enemy units hostile to each other. So Excelsior thinks that this is Proroc's last building, and might it actually be his last building? You know, production building is what I mean. I'm not sure, to be fairly honest with you. I feel like you know, Proroc would try to defend it a bit more, you know, aggressively if this was the last building. It's not, in fact, the last. Oh, okay, all right, scratch that. Not only was it not the last building, but also Proroc is building an entire whole fortress, and I feel like if Excelsior sees that, he's gonna be his morals are gonna be debuffed. Yeah, not much Excelsior has left in this match. You know, just basically no army, just this one Easterling, a Phalanx battalion, dismounted Witch King once again because it was low health, and yeah, Excelsior, like, it's fairly obvious that Excelsior thinks that this is the last production building, but it wasn't. And I can imagine his disappointment when he took down the Rubbles over here and the game did not end. Okay, so Misty Mountains, does he have access to his fourth tier 4 rather? He does not. So I feel like we're gonna continue watching this game for some while yet. I mean, he has 6,000 resources. I mean, he can just Well, I mean, right now he can't because he doesn't really have. I'm assuming he doesn't really have a free builder. But once he orders another builder from the fort, he can just build a troll layer and take down Mordor's fortress, and that's going to be the end of the game, probably. Supposedly, unless something crazy happens, then I don't really see how, how Excelsior can make a comeback in this match. So Bolg is already level 6, which means he has access to growing hatred and also ruled by fear. And his first ability is just a passive leadership for near orcs, wargs, and giant bats. Giant bats. That's very interesting because giant bats usually just fly all over the map, and I'm not sure how Bolg's leadership is supposed to affect them, but I'm assuming this is just like for lore purposes, which is totally fine. I actually like that. Bolg is actually going to go down. That's correct. So Witch King used his Morgul Blade, which stuns the enemy, but Witch King himself might go down over here if Lug focuses him and throws his debuff. But Lug himself is going to go down, actually. Yeah. Or is he? Is he alive yet? I'm not sure. Oh no, he died while being frozen. Literally went underground. Righty, so Witch King is very low health. Yeah, Proroc just miscontrolled there. He could have used Lug's debuff and dealt damage in a ranged manner, and I think he would have killed him. Okay, so just 2 points until Proroc's Proroc summon, if I'm not mistaken, although I'm not sure. I can't quite remember what the worm leads to in the PowerPoint tree. But once again, Proroc doesn't really have any units on the map. Mordor just has like a few more legions of Morgul. It actually does have two more Easterling Archer battalions with flags who are already level 3. It's very interesting that Proroc basically has unlimited money and map control, control over the whole freaking map, but doesn't really have units, doesn't really spam units, and doesn't really have production buildings. He built one over here, built the second Mountain Orc Lodge, and is grading it to level 2, but yeah, only has this Bolg's Bodyguard battalion over this, and Excelsior, since he really doesn't have that many things to spend his money on at this point, is just has gone for the Forged Blades and given it to the Morgul Legions, which of course increase their damage quite significantly. Okay, so I feel like there's really not much happening on the map. I think we can fast forward slightly. A bit of an engagement over here. Bolg's Bodyguard against Legions of Morgul who have Forged Blades. I feel like even despite the Forged Blades, Bolg's Bodyguard should win this engagement pretty damn comfortably. Although there's also Mouth of Sauron over there, so I'm not so sure about that anymore. So at this point, in this side of the map, Excelsior is actually trying to make a push. He has this Easterling Phalanx battalion with Forged Blades. He's got 2 battalions of Easterling Archers, which are obviously very powerful archers. And he's gonna take down this level 3 as well. Interesting. Might this be the first sign, the first symptom of a comeback? Rorschach is back on the field. Only 2 of the bodyguards of Bolg are left on the field. And Gundabad Berserkers are fighting Witch King in melee mode. The Gunda Berserkers are fleeing for their lives. Mouth of Sauron has used his Ambassador ability, which grants him 300% freaking armor. That is insane for a hero. But I'm pretty sure this is also going to be nerfed in the next patch. Generally speaking, there are, there's a lot of hope, for a lack of a better term, connected to 8.0 in terms of competitive balance, in terms of how it's going to affect the competitive scene, because the online competitive scene in Age of the Ring isn't super active at the moment, especially the 1v1 scene, but hopefully that's going to change once 8.0 drops and all the balance changes take place. And you know, the gameplay itself, the gameplay logic essentially becomes more aggressive, you know, quicker, and just more fun to play essentially, and obviously more balanced as well. I know that there's a lot of work being done on that front. If you haven't read, if you're curious about it, there are 2 articles. Pretty sure both of them are on ModDB, I think. Though I'm not exactly sure. Can't quite remember. But I'll link them basically in the description of this video. You know, 2 articles that one of the members of the development team wrote. Can't remember which one either. So the articles are about the balance changes in upcoming 8.0, and so I read it, and basically everything written there made a lot of sense, and was in line with my own observations of balance so far of this 1-2 months of playing the mod. So yeah, hopefully the competitive scene will become much more active once 8.0 drops. So finally we have Proroc rather has access to his tier 4 Durin's Bane, which summons a Balrog, and I feel like he's gonna use it somewhere around here. Presumably, there's nowhere else to use it, logically speaking. Yeah. So, but Excelsior still has hope. Witch King is fleeing for his life. Once again, being debuffed by Lug. And I think Excelsior wants to do the same magic trick, which is to throw down the Fires of Orodruin on Proroc's Fortress and also use the Rings of Wraith. Yeah, I mean, there's no other reason he wouldn't have used Rings. Did I just say rings on Wraiths? Jesus fucking Christ. I butchered this summon's pronunciation probably like 5 times during this cast. Anyhow, Proroc finally summons his Durin's Bane, Balrog, and is probably going for Witch King over here with Balrog's second ability, Fire Whip. And if he's within the radius of Balrog's attack, then Witch King should be dead after that one, especially after Ignite, which gives the Balrog 50% in armor. And while that's happening over that side, and while Excelsior has no chance, has no other option but to run around to avoid the Balrog, Bolg's bodyguard, the summoned one, or rather the one that he gains on level 7, starting from level 7, is going to take down this level 3 Sterling encampment, which is a very big loss for Excelsior. Excelsior, on the other hand, isn't patient anymore. It wants to take down the Misty Mountains Fortress even without Fires of Orodruin, and he might be able to do that actually, because Proroc isn't paying attention, isn't building these the towers, essentially tower expansions on the fortress. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Excelsior is in fact going to be successful in taking down the fortress. But on the other hand, he does lose Witch King, presumably, because I can't see him on the minimap, and I can't see him over here either. And yeah, so Excelsior uses the Fires of Orodruin in defensive purposes, and Proroc once again is left without a fortress for the second time in the game. That is actually quite funny. Like, he has the lead for the past probably like 30 minutes. He has all his heroes. Excelsior literally has 2 slaughterhouses on the field and a few battalions. That's it. I feel like these heroes alone can take down the fortress with, like, a couple of battalions or something, or maybe even solo. Even though Excelsior's fortress is basically fully upgraded in terms of armor, still, like, given enough time, I think they'll take it down. Bolg level 9 deals huge damage, and also Great Goblin. Right, so I feel like we're finally approaching the end of the game, which is very, very funny indeed, because logically it should have ended probably about 15 or 20 minutes ago. We saw some we saw some epic action is what I wanted to say. Proroc is in fact not successful in taking down Excelsior's fortress. Righty. Let's fast forward a bit because I feel like there's not a whole lot to be seen over here. Excelsior is just not giving up, which is you know, which is a good thing. You know, he's fighting till the last moment, even though deep down he himself probably also knows that he has lost the game. But yeah, let's just enjoy the last moments of this courageous Mordor player who fought till the very last moment, did not give up, did not let, you know, the situation on the map discourage him in any way. And yeah, he's still getting units. Damn. This should be the end of the game. You know, Bolg's bodyguard together with all of these units, Gunda Berserkers, should take down the fortress. Although, you know, Excelsior has Mouth of Sauron and also Gothmog back on the map, but that's surely that's the end of it. Surely, it's not. Oh my lord, is this the second fortress? Oh no, like my brain has started to glitch already. Excelsior took this down, right? So this is just one fortress on the map for Proroc at this point. This fortress is literally on like 10% HP, and Excelsior has a tier 3, which is the Shelob summon. Shelob summon, and yeah, he just needs to finish. Proroc just needs to finish the fortress, and hopefully he's gonna do it with this attack. Is he? No. I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't cross his mind to build a troll there, or at least Bolg's bodyguard. Game over. Finally. Yeah, I feel like there's not a whole lot to add to that. I'll just end the cast there. And yeah. So see you guys on the next one.